Welcome to Apologetics and Prophecy, the official podcast of Calvary Solid Ground, a remnant church in Orangevale, California. I am Pastor Jed, and I will be your host as we bring you Bible studies and updates put through an apologetical and biblical lens to see just how close we are to the return of our Lord. Thank you for joining us today. Maranatha, everyone. So glad that you could join us for this Friday edition of Apologetics and Prophecy, where we're going to do a prophecy update. I know it's been a couple of weeks, but I'm telling you, this week just started off with acceleration. Acceleration. We are accelerating fast into the biblical narrative that we read about in Scripture. And we know that this was going to happen. It wouldn't matter who won the presidency. It wouldn't matter what happens in America. The acceleration of prophetic events are being set up and orchestrated by God's sovereign hand. And we see it happening. And we need to remember what we're told about these days that we live in. In Daniel chapter 12, verse 4, the angel told Daniel, "But you, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book until the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase." And the exponential increase in knowledge and signs as people travel through the scriptures back and forth, Old and New Testament, to see what the last days would look like. And the closer that we get, the more that we can see it. And the exponential rise of these things has been happening at a pace that is breathtaking since 2020. We cannot even keep up with it. Literally, just to do this update, it was last minute putting stories in there, and I missed a lot. And so we just have to deal with what we're going to do. But what did Jesus say about these times when this time would come? He used a very interesting word in Revelation chapter 1, verses 1 through 3. It says, "The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave him to show his servants, things which must shortly take place." The idea there is tachos. It's very, once they start, they'll happen very quickly. "And he sent and signified it by his angel to his servant John, who bore witness to the word of God and to the testimony of Jesus Christ, to all things that he saw. Blessed is he who reads and those who hear the words of this prophecy and keep those things that are written in it. For guess what? The time is near." It was near then and it is near now. And the things that must shortly take place, once they start happening, they will unfold very quickly. Before we can even take a breath, they are going to be before us. We see an acceleration right now, and it wouldn't matter who won the presidency. The acceleration might accelerate. When we start accelerating, it won't matter which place that it goes. You have to remember, the Antichrist will be bipartisan. There will be no division when he comes on the scene. And so as we see these things start to come together, we know that acceleration is happening. And of course, I like how Jesus put it in the book of Luke 17, "For as the lightning that flashes out of one part under heaven shines to the other part of heaven, so also the Son of Man will be in his day." He's going to come very quickly on the scene. The tribulation period is going to come on fast without anybody expecting it. It is going to be, a time that is going to be thrust out into human history without any, we see the signs, but the world is not going to know what hit them. And so it shouldn't surprise us. And so many things happened since the last time that I did an update, just in the last 2 weeks. Of course, we saw, we don't have time to get into all the shenanigans that the last administration did before they left, including the pardoning or clemency of the Joseph Biden crime family, preemptive pardons, but they didn't do anything wrong, right? We know better, right? It just shows you lawlessness will abound. We see these things exponentially accelerating into the time of the tribulation period, which we knew. And of course, who didn't miss, the last day we saw, maybe you're one of those people that are, glad that America is back, Donald Trump's mandate for America, is that the hope? And maybe you got so excited about it, you built a statue. Oh yes, a statue, a big statue, a colossus of Donald Trump. Or if you're in China, maybe you did this. You built a Buddha with Trump's head on it. These things are crazy, but this is how significant his presidency is going to be for world history, and not only America, but In case you were under a rock, what started our acceleration this week was this moment in time here.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the office of President of the United States
the office of President of the United States
and will, to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Of course, you see all the losers standing there. And of course, everybody screaming and crying and yelling that Trump didn't put his hand on the Bible. But if you noticed in the full video that John Roberts started, either Millennial was late, whatever, she was the one carrying the Bible, and he started before he had the opportunity to put his hand on the Bible. He was supposed to wait for Trump's lead. And so, but you know, these uniparty liberals, they don't want anything to do with the Trump presidency. Now we'll deal with the good, the bad, and the ugly. We get all of it with the Trump presidency, and we're going to get that with the acceleration of Bible prophecy. Doesn't matter who's in charge. You have to remember that just because Donald Trump didn't put his hand on the Bible, you have to remember, I do not believe Donald Trump is a Christian. He does not have a biblical worldview, so it wouldn't matter if he put his hand on the newspaper. He made an oath, but who is he making the oath to? To John Roberts and to you and I, the nation. Not to God, because he's not a Christian. So we have to remember these things before we go, saying that he's the Antichrist and all this. We'll take the good, the bad, and the ugly. There are a lot of bad things that Trump does. There's a lot of good things. And good things that would have never happened if the other side would have won. We'd still be doing all the other things, but it would be ugly, bad, and ugly. At least we get some good with this presidency, and we're going to rejoice when it's time to rejoice in these things. And of course, the top headline today, this week, would be Trump grants sweeping pardon of January 6 defendants, including rioters who violently attacked the police. Now, this is the AP. I had to pick the other side's view of it to kind of show you how this all happened. But this is a vindication of things that we had been saying for years that come out, that we finally have somebody in there to straighten these things out. Some of these people have been in prison for 3.5 years. We know one guy that we've helped support at the church who just got out from 3.5 years in federal prison. And who's going to give him he might have a pardon, but what about all that time he lost because of the enemy of the left that wanting to destroy these people's lives? But you got to love how AP put it. President Donald Trump has pardoned, commuted this prison sentence, or vowed to dismiss the cases of all of the 1,500 plus people charged with crimes in the January 6, 2021 U.S. Capitol riot, including people convicted of assaulting police officers, using his clemency power on the first day back in office to undo the massive prosecution of the unprecedented assault on the seat of American democracy. We're not a democracy, by the way. That's what they'll always do. That's what they shove down your throat, right? Trump's action just hours after his return to the White House on Monday paves the way for the release from prison of people found guilty of violent attacks on police, as well as leaders of far-right extremist groups convicted of failed plots to keep the Republican in power after he lost the 2020 presidential election to Democrat Joe Biden. You know what's missing in that? The word insurrection. They realize and understand that it was not an insurrection, so they call it a riot now. How fast the narrative changes when the seat of power changes. And very interesting, but that's the way they look at it. But there was even more good news yesterday, as many of us who have been holding our breath waiting for, and very glad to see that President Trump pardons 23 pro-lifers targeted by Biden Justice Department under the FACE Act. You have to understand that it's good news that Trump's president. We don't like the bad and the ugly that come with this presidency. We'll see that in a minute. But you have to understand the good about this. The other administration was weaponizing the justice system against you and I. If you're a born-again Christian and you are a pro-life Christian, President Biden and his Justice Department has remember they made moms at school board meetings terrorists. That's the kind of, and people were sitting in jail, and these people were finally freed. Do you understand that there was 23 of them? One of them was Eva Eldy. Eva Eldy. I think she's 89 years old. She was a Holocaust survivor, passing out leaflets in front of a abortion clinic, and they gave her like 11 years. I mean, come on, really. We're so grateful that Cal Zistro and his family are now pardoned. Cal's sitting in jail right now. I hope he's out by now. Hopefully he's out. I also saw a story recently, too. This is how bad it is, and we need reforms. And I'm glad, there's a lot of good behind all this. Let's take it while we can. Let's take the victory lap, all right? But some of these federal prisons that had J6ers that were out in the middle of nowhere, they opened the door and let them out with no money, no phone call, no nothing. And they're stranded out in the middle of the wilderness, out in the middle of somewhere in the country they don't even know, with nothing but even if they had shoes. That's how bad these prisoners were treating these J6ers, as if they were some kind of, really awful criminal. And I could tell you stories about what was happening in some of these women prisons, and you should be glad that Trump won the presidency. We know that lawlessness will abound, but we'll take a little bit of a break. We'll take the good that comes with the bad and the ugly, as we will see. So we need to understand that. I could not even keep up with all the presidential actions. There are so many. It's your head spinning if you try to keep up with all of them. And of course, there were some that were good. Like I said, we're looking at the good, the bad, and the ugly. That we have an acceleration that would happen no matter who became president. These other things would have went into effect anyway. But the good, the stuff that wouldn't have happened if the other side would have won, we're going to take and say thank you and praise God for. And of course, there's this one, which should be interesting. We'll find out within the next 15 days how much of it really will be released. And that is Trump signs executive order to release secret GFK, RFK, and MLK assassination documents. So we're going to get to everybody hopes we get to the truth. But from what I understand from inside sources that I've read about is that the CIA has not provided the president all of the documents. Some of the documents have disappeared. Some of them have been hidden. Some of them are not available for the president to unclassify. So it's going to be very interesting that we see this. But we know what he said to Joe Rogan. But right after this, Schumer comes out and says Schumer calls on Trump to declassify government files on UFOs. Now, we've been talking about the next couple years here getting very strange. And you and I that are watchmen, those of us that we have a biblical worldview, we understand what these things are. We've done extensive studies on this, much material out there to tell you that these things are not what Trump is going to think they are, or what the military who's been messing with them think they are. But it'll be interesting how much of this, again, will be released. How much do they really have to release to us? But we've had lots of leaks of whistleblowers throughout the last, preparing people's mind and psyche. So we'll see what happens. But it says that that Senate Democrat leader Chuck Schumer says President Trump should declassify secret government archives about unidentified flying objects, also known as unidentified anomalous phenomena, in the spirit of greater government transparency. Now do UFOs, Schumer wrote on his social platform X in a repost of the White House announcement that Trump had ordered government files of JFK, RFK, and MLK Jr. to be declassified. So that is what's happening, and we are glad about it, and we'll see what happens. But, we don't really know how much of it is. He did say on Joe Rogan that he's going to look into it, so we'll see what happens. But just to kind of give you I found this, and there was another one, but we didn't have time. But this one here kind of, with Jesse Waters, kind of gives us a synopsis of everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and everything that happened in the last couple days.
Over a dozen justice officials have packed their bags today. And Trump also revoked security clearances for the 51 intel officers who signed the Hunter Biden laptop letter. And that's not the only thing he's getting rid of. 78 of Biden's executive actions gone with a stroke of a Sharpie. And in 24 hours, 200 executive actions. He also gave 4 speeches, attended a half a dozen balls and dinners, and held 2 media Q&As. The new White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, didn't even have a chance to walk out to the podium because the president missed being out there so much. Late this afternoon, the president delivered a historic announcement.
Together, these world-leading technology giants are announcing the formation of Stargate. So put that name down in your books, because I think you're going to hear a lot about it in the future. A new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States, and very quickly, moving very rapidly, creating over 100,000 American jobs almost immediately. Beginning immediately, Stargate will be building the physical and virtual infrastructure to power the next generation of advancements in AI.
Larry Ellison from Oracle, Masayoshi from SoftBank, and Sam Altman from OpenAI were in the Roosevelt Room pledging a $500 billion investment in American AI. But the oligarchs that Biden warned us about are promising to cure cancer, something Biden promised but never did.
You can do early cancer detection with a blood test. And using AI to look at the blood test, you can find the cancers that are actually seriously threatening the person.
Trump's election created a ripe environment to make major scientific breakthroughs because his tax, energy, and regulatory policies are perfect.
I'm thrilled we get to do this in the United States of America. I think this will be the most important project of this era. And as Masa said, for AGI to get built here, to create hundreds of thousands of jobs, to create a new industry centered here. We wouldn't be able to do this without you, Mr. President.
The big difference here is that Biden taxed you to give money away to his hand-picked businesses. But these are private businesses investing their own money here in America. We're not picking winners and losers with your money. Today's a good day to bet on America.
So, I mean, he's looking at it pretty positively, but we have to understand that. And one thing you need to know, it wouldn't matter whoever was standing behind that podium as president of the United States, these people would still be there. Their algorithms knew Trump was going to win. They have inside knowledge that you and I don't have, and that's why they gravitated toward the president. You need to look at, if you do not understand technocrats, you need to go to Patrick Wood's technocracy.news and read his books, read his information, listen to his studies, and you would understand that technocrats are not partisan. They could care less. All they care about is power. And so they gravitate to whoever's president. So we would have had the same ugly, bad and ugly, regardless of who would have won the American presidency. You have to understand these people right here could care less about you. And they have more money than you know what to shake. They have more money than you understand to shake a stick at. And they're investing big time in technocracy, in AI, in transhumanism. And all of these things this is the bad and the ugly of what we see. And there are plenty of stories. We're seeing acceleration at a pace that is breathtaking to us. And so there's some bad and there's some good mixed into all of this. And of course, we could see the good of having a Trump presidency to regulate and to hold back on this stuff. But what happens when the next side comes back into power and all of this infrastructure is already set in place? We know what's going to happen when the Antichrist comes on the scene. So very interesting stuff happening today and happening in the news. And of course, we have this story here. Trump throws his weight behind new generation of mRNA gene therapy injections for cancer and other diseases. Of course, Leo's on our side on all of this, and we didn't agree with Operation Warp Speed. We don't agree with this. But Trump does not have a biblical worldview. He doesn't understand that evolution is a lie from the pit of hell, and that these things are a transhumanist way in, a gateway for the transhumanists to start genetically modifying all of our DNA. They'll base it on, we're helping the sick, we're helping the cancer patients, we're helping all these people. But, and of course, they have to call it Stargate. Project Stargate. Why do we have to have these? I liked science fiction when it was science fiction. I liked watching the movies, but I surely didn't want to live in one. And that's where we're at now. Project Stargate explains why Trump never backtracked from his disastrous Operation Warp Speed. President okays control grid and mRNA shots on second day in office. OpenAI, SoftBank, and Oracle will be part of a private public-private partnership with the Trump White House called Stargate. The heads of the tech firms plan to invest up to $500 billion over the next 4 years. See, it's money, it's jobs in America. Remember, Pelosi. If it was the other side, you'd have Pelosi up there going jobs, jobs, jobs. You'd have Kamala saying, look at what these oligarchs are going to do for us, and it wouldn't matter. You have to understand that it doesn't matter. Technocrats could care less who's in power as long as they can have access to it. And we see that right here with this public-private partnership, right? And it says this means data centers, massive buildings designed to collect and process data. Running these centers require huge amounts of water and energy. SoftBank CEO, Sam Altman and Larry Ellison of Oracle appeared at the White House on Tuesday afternoon with President Trump to announce the launching of Stargate. Trump, standing with the three tech CEOs at the White House, said he would invoke emergency declarations. Oh boy, here we go. I told you there was bad and ugly. To help speed up Stargate project. I'm going to help a lot through emergency declarations, he said, because we have an emergency and we need a lot of help. We need energy generation, and they will build their own. So probably the emergency declaration is on energy, so they're going to drill for more oil and produce nuclear. I know there's a plan already by Google to create micro nuclear power plants, kind of like what they use to power submarines and warships with, to power AI data centers. So we'll see, but I think that's what he means by that. But who knows? Anything's possible. And we know that the State Department has their own AI website up, artificial intelligence right here. And the description says artificial intelligence technologies are at the center of an unfolding global technology revolution. What do they call that? The fourth industrial revolution that could affect the well-being and security of people everywhere. The United States is working to ensure AI technologies are developed responsibly like they don't already have them. You understand the open source AI means that they have stuff it's useless to them now. Might be useful for you. That's why we'll let you have it. But the stuff that's still patented, the stuff that's hiding behind the scenes is way more powerful than what we see today. Don't think for a second that when we gave up the moment that 9/11 happened and we gave up all of our freedoms to the Patriot Act, they already had that the open sourced AIs were already being worked in by the military and the NSI. You think those server farms were just there for storage? Come on, guys. Let's get real here. This is just what they're telling us, that we're going to make sure it's used responsibly, like the irresponsibility that they've been using it over the last 2 decades, right? And is used for a force for good, helping to make Americans and people around the world safer. See, that's the idea of fear. Fear, we need to give up our rights. We're safer. We've already done that. More secure and more prosperous. Peace and security. Peace and safety. Where have we heard that before? By working with partners across the globe to build digital solidarity, mitigate risks, and ensure responsible, inclusive, and rights-respecting AI innovation, we can tackle some of the world's most pressing challenges, like addressing food security, environmental challenges, even the new White House, environmental challenges, and global health risks, what we just heard about, in a new and unparalleled way. And of course, we can't even take a breath. The acceleration is happening so fast. What do we hear? Before we can even take our next breath, Google-backed AI-developed drugs are headed to trial by 2026. DeepMind CEO says. Now here we go. DeepMind, Stargate, Starlink. I mean, come on. Can we stop it with all of the Terminator usage? We know we're headed that way. Like I said, I don't want to live in a science fiction movie, but here we go. And so. But it says that drugs developed by Alphabet's drug discovery subsidiary and designed by artificial intelligence are expected to head to trial by the end of the year. And so here they go. And then, of course, we have this. This is a good video. This was a news spot that was done on Larry Ellison and what he was talking about. So let's go ahead and tune into this.
Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison predicts AI surveillance will be part of our everyday lives in the future. During a recent Oracle Q&A, Ellison said AI will soon play a major role in monitoring society through a vast network of interconnected cameras, including security systems, police body cams, and vehicle dash cams.
Everyone would see it. Your body cams will be transmitting that. The police will be on their best behavior, because we're constantly recording, watching and recording everything that's going on. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on.
Ellison's vision is for AI to analyze data from this network of cameras in real time in an attempt to prevent crime, while also tracking and influencing public behavior for a safer society. However, the idea raises serious privacy concerns. Critics argue it could lead to a surveillance state with constant monitoring infringing on personal privacy rights, while others say it could help solve crimes faster and provide transparency to citizens in cases of excessive force from law enforcement.
We're going to have supervision. In other words, every police officer is going to be supervised at all times.
Ellison's proposal highlights a growing trend among tech giants to harness AI for societal influence, which may significantly reshape our lives in the coming years.
Do you guys realize that the Antichrist structure, the technology for the Antichrist to do what's written in Revelation 13 is not coming, but already here? Do you understand it's already here? Don't think for a moment that it's not. The rapture could happen today, and it wouldn't take but a short period of time for the 10 kings to develop and the Antichrist to appear on the scene, and then all of this technology will be ready for him to take over in 3.5 years. It's already here. It isn't coming. And of course, if we're talking about acceleration, no sooner did Trump get done saying his last words of the oath to office, we had the World Economic Forum annual meeting starting. And of course, what is it? Collaboration for the intelligent age, the fourth industrial revolution, and everybody's friend Klaus Schwab coming out of his supposed retirement to host the thing. And of course, you know, it says the annual 2025 meeting convenes global leaders to address key global and regional challenges. These include responding to geopolitical shocks, stimulating growth to improve living standards, and stewarding a just and inclusive energy transition. So all stuff that, of course, you see the picture of Trump there. He was the star of the show. But of course, you know, one of the things that they were talking about is AI's energy dilemma, challenges, opportunities, and a path forward. Of course, that was AI was a big thing because it's part of the fourth industrial revolution. And so, but let's remember, though, one of the things that Trump talked about, a couple of short clips that I'll play from his speech there, which are good news, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We have some good things. Like I said, this is good as long as he's in power. But as soon as another administration, or dare we say an Antichrist figure, comes on the scene and controls and takes and becomes a dictator with these things, is where we need to worry. And of course, here he is.
In addition, I'm pleased to report that America is also a free nation once again. On day one, I signed an executive order to stop all government censorship. No longer will our government label the speech of our own citizens as misinformation or disinformation, which are the favorite words of censors and those who wish to stop the free exchange of ideas and, frankly, progress. We have saved free speech in America, and we've saved it strongly.
So he's promising freedom of speech, but you want to know what happens? And this happened before when I had a Twitter account before Elon Musk took over. And a lot of people have experienced the same thing, and some people still are. But my wife, who we watch a lot of YouTube, but we don't have that. We have to bear through the ads, and you have to wait and then click skip. Well, ever since Trump became president, since the administration take over, all the YouTube, and it knows that we're watching Christian TV shows or Christian videos, that the ads are pornographic in nature. talking about, an alternative to Viagra. And they're saying all kinds of awful, sick, perverted things before you can hit skip. This has been happening to her for the last 2 or 3 days. And that shows you that, okay, we'll give you freedom of speech, but we're gonna stuff this other stuff down your throat to get you to stop watching it. And it works. I canceled my X account because I was getting suggestions for friends, and the picture was pornographic. I mean, to the point that I had to turn away, and I finally got tired of it and just canceled my subscription. Now, some people that have X say they still have that problem. I have not, but since I've come back, since Musk took over, but just remember. But now he wants, freedom of speech. But what about Germany? This is being said, this is at the World Economic Forum when Germany had to speak. Very eye-opening here how, America might have this little short 4-year window where our leaders are talking about freedom of speech. But what's happening around the rest of the globe? What are the people cheering about at the World Economic Forum? And we get a good glimpse of it here.
So on the question of the dealing of Elon Musk, I had a lot of things to comment in the past because he was discussing a lot about Europe. And just to repeat what I already said, we have the freedom of speech in Europe, and in Germany everyone can say what he wants, even if he is a billionaire. And what we do not accept is if this is supporting extreme right positions. And that is what I would like to repeat again.
You could see right there that that the guy was all for free speech, except for Donald Trump, except for you. Oh yeah, we're for free speech, but if they're far right, if they're anybody that's opposite the narrative of Colonel Klink there sitting next to him, then no, we can't have that. See, that's what they when they say they're for free speech, that's what they mean. They're telling you what the Antichrist is going to be lying to you about when he comes on the scene, and everybody's going to get behind it. Now, we have more Davos news, and this one here, digital inclusion creates opportunity for India to lead in AI. So we have this article about AI, and it says that on AI's impact, Vaz, this guy from India, said that AI has moved out of being a technology that people are interested in and moved into businesses recognizing AI is about enabling their physical workplace with digital companion. But notice it says, I think India has done a phenomenal job in demonstrating that public-private partnership and how digital can bring so many people into the fold, whether it's UPI and payment gateways or whether it's national identity. So he's talking about digital ID. Now, I didn't get to do any filming on the trip. I was pretty busy and fellowshipping and doing stuff with our crew that we went down there with. But I did get to interview, Brandon Holhouse interviewed me for Tip of the Spear. That interview's not up yet. But he asked me what I thought was going to be something to look to over the next year. And I told him digital ID. That's going to be the thing. I really believe by the end of this year, they're going to be forcing free digital ID for everyone. Elon Musk will build it. You'll see. You see all these technocrats. That's what they want. But they have to have digital ID before they can have a digital currency, even though he's against the digital currency. But, we have to have other things. But notice that it's happening all over the world. We've been sharing a lot of stories here. Turkey upgrades digital ID. AI projected to stifle breaches. So they're going to use AI in the hopes of not tracking. It's going to track everybody, but also ID everybody. Turkey authorities have confirmed plans to double down on national digitalization efforts by leveraging blockchain technology for its digital identity system. So we see all of this happening. And then, they're using this ID for digital IDs all over the world. And don't think that their little tiny enclave of America is not going to get affected by it eventually. It will happen. And of course, here's a story, of course, that, they're always telling us what what's going to happen before it happens. Maybe this is the next big thing. UK to test nationwide Armageddon alert system affecting 87 million devices. So UK is preparing for Armageddon. UK government is preparing to conduct a nationwide test of its Armageddon alert system. Now, they use biblical terms for their alert system, sending out a loud 10-second emergency alert to all 4G and 5G devices within range. The emergency alert system, EAS, we've heard a lot of stuff with 5G and the EAS and the radio waves and frequencies that come out of these towers and LED lamps they put all over the place. Very serious to watch. They've been there since launched in 2023. They were being installed during COVID while everybody was locked up. We've been following this stuff. It's designed to warn citizens about life-threatening emergencies such as severe weather, wildfires, notice the wildfires, or flooding. We've had a lot of record flooding through the weather manipulation that they've been messing with. It has already been deployed in real-world scenarios, including Storm Darog. During the test, phones will vibrate and emit a loud siren, even on silent mode, and users will receive a message on their home screens with instructions on what to do in real emergencies. Now, I'm curious about how much longer we're going to be able to shut things off on our phones. How much longer before we could control? I mean, I've already got on my Apple Intelligence. I don't want it. Turn it off. How long before we can't turn it off? I mean, Microsoft just put out their newest update for Microsoft 365. And if you didn't stop it, you have Copilot. There's nothing you can do about it. It's built in. I've tried everything. I read a bunch of, they said there's nothing you can do. You have to go back and turn off your automatic uploads and go back to the previous upload. And of course, they'll make it so it doesn't work eventually, right? That you have to upgrade it because that's the way Word works. You know, Microsoft ain't stupid. They want your information. So, and then what about phones? I mean, phones, like I said, are getting, look at this. Almost all new phones are no longer just a phone. They are AI machines. They have AI built into them. The new Samsung Galaxy 25 series sets the standard of iPhone as a true AI companion. You're carrying it around in your pocket. It doesn't even need to be connected online. It's already in there. Scary stuff. They're pioneering the multi-model era with the most complex, aware, and personalized mobile experience. Now, let's read and remember what our buddy Ellison, who's promising $500 billion, who's giving us Stargate, said.
Securing schools, we think we can absolutely lock down schools so that dramatically reduce the case of anyone being on campus that doesn't belong on campus, and immediately alert, the second someone pulls out a gun, immediately alert, use AI cameras to immediately recognize that. But we keep everyone off campus that doesn't belong on campus. The police, another thing, body cameras. We completely redesigned body cameras. Our body cameras cost $70. Normal body camera costs, I don't know, $7,000. Our body cameras are simply lenses, two lenses attached to your vest, attached to the smartphone that you're wearing. And we actually take the video that the police officer is, by the way, and the camera's always on. You don't turn it on and off. And by the way, the way you turn it on, you can't turn it on. I'm going to the bathroom. Oracle, I need 2 minutes to take a bathroom break, and we'll turn it off. The truth is, we don't really turn it off. What we do is we record it so no one can see it, but no one can get into that recording without a court order.
Hey, they said you can't even shut it off. Even if you're in the bathroom, it's still recording your moves and everything you're doing. So it's in the background, right? And it sees everything you're doing. That's not the world I want to live in. Like I said, I like watching, science fiction movies, but I don't want to live in one. That's just a fact, and we are actually living in one today. The system isn't coming; it is already here. But like I said, we'll take the good with the bad and the ugly, and the good is this. Trump bans the creation of a digital dollar. So he's holding back the feds from creating the Federal Reserve. U.S. Donald Trump issued an executive order Thursday effectively banning the establishment of a central bank digital currency in a move long supported by congressional Republicans. Trump's order would be, he said, protect Americans from the risks of central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, which threaten the stability of the financial system, individual privacy, and the sovereignty of the United States. This included the prohibition of the establishment, insurance, circulation, and use of CBDC within the jurisdiction of the United States. But this is playing right into the technocrat card, because they are the ones, Money Bank and all of these people, that want control of the digital currency. So this helps them. Maybe we have that freedom here in the United States, but we're about the rest of the world. The technocrats are going to have their way using the infrastructure they're building here because he signed a bunch of stuff opening up cryptocurrency. So we'll take the good with the bad, but, and then, of course, everybody's favorite Argentinian showed up at Davos, and this was great. He slams murderous abortion agenda, calls gender activists pedophiles at Davos 2025. You got to love this guy. We got to watch him.
Promueve la agenda LGBT, queriendo imponernos que las mujeres son hombres y los hombres son mujeres solo si así se autoperciben. Y nada dicen de cuando un hombre se disfraza de mujer y mata a su rival en un ring de boxeo, o cuando un preso alega ser mujer y termina violando a cuanta mujer se le cruce por delante en la prisión. Sin ir más lejos, hace pocas semanas fue noticia en todo el mundo el caso de 2 americanos homosexuales que, enarbolando la bandera de la diversidad sexual, y fueron condenados a 100 años de prisión por abusar y filmar a sus hijos adoptivos durante más de 2 años. Quiero ser claro que cuando digo abusos no es un eufemismo, porque en sus versiones más extremas la ideología de género constituye lisa y llanamente abuso infantil. Son pedófilos. Por lo tanto, quiero saber quién avala esos comportamientos.
That's classic. I gotta love the guy. Can't understand a word he's saying. Glad there's subtitles, but hey, he means what he says. But like I said, more good with the bad and the ugly. We may be accelerating towards these things. At least now there's a few of us holding back the tide of evil that will mushroom into existence during the tribulation period, especially under the Antichrist kingdom. But, thankful that Donald Trump, did what he said and says what he means and does what he says.
And I've made it official, an official policy of the United States, that there are only 2 genders, male and female. And we will have no men participating in women's sports, and transgender operations, which became the rage, will occur very rarely.
So there's only 2 genders. That's a good thing. He made an executive order, man and woman, woman and man. That's the stuff that he got voted in for, trying to get rid of this woke madness, and we're very thankful for it. But what's the church doing? Church celebrating this? No, but we have to stomach this. He goes to the National Cathedral, which is a traditional thing for presidents to do after inauguration, and he gets rebuked by a woman bishop that tells him to have mercy on LGBT community and immigrants. Now, I hate to do this to you, but you gotta watch it. Let's hear what she has to say.
In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meat packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat.
Okay, that's enough of that. I can't take any more of it, and I know you can't either. But that is not a Christian. That is an apostate representative of the apostate church, which we told about would be around in the last days. But there are, other things that are happening, and this is a good one today. Trump lays down 5 major pro-Israel executive orders, and this is more of the good that I think really helped Trump become president. We're keeping an eye on him. We want to make sure that he keeps his promises to Israel, but he revoked sanctions on several Israel citizens in Judea and Samaria imposed by the Biden administration. That's good news. Restoring sanctions against the International Criminal Court. That's good news. Defunding UNRWA, which was horrible in Gaza. The United Nations Relief Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees. Good, defunds it. Authorizing deportation of U.S. visa holders involved in pro-Hamas protests. More good news. Lifting restrictions of arms sales to Israel, including the supply of 2,000-pound bombs. Trump also raised the issue of what to do about Gaza. He questioned whether the days-old ceasefire between Hamas and Israel will last. And here's the video where he was asked that question.
Mr. President, that you can keep the ceasefire in Gaza and conclude the 3 phases of the deal.
I'm not confident. That's not our war, it's their war, but I'm not confident, but I think they're very weakened on the other side.
Do you support the 2-state?
Gaza, boy, I looked at a picture of Gaza. Gaza is like a massive demolition site. That place it's really got to be rebuilt in a different way.
Do you plan to help rebuilding Gaza?
Well, he knew it was a bad deal.
Gaza is interesting. It's a phenomenal location. On the sea, best weather. Everything's good. It's like some beautiful things could be done with it, but it's very interesting. But some fantastic things could be done with Gaza.
How do you see the future in governance for Gaza?
Well, it depends. I can't imagine you could have, well, you certainly can't have the people that were there. Most of them are dead.
So he knows it's a bad deal. And like I said, it was a deal put in place by the prior administration. Only reason why Trump was on board with it was because it was already in the works. And he doesn't want to have to deal with it as president. One less thing he has to deal with. So, but he's doubtful that it will hold, and we're pretty doubtful too, but we will see. But what did we find out for the I know they're supposed to be releasing 4 women tomorrow, and we'll see what happens. But it's Sunday their time, tomorrow our time, but we'll see what happens. And then, of course, freed Israelis warn United Nations help Hamas hide hostages. Act like you're surprised. Israelis who were recently released by Hamas have warned that the globalist United Nations helped the terrorist group hide the hostages during their captivity. The released Israeli hostages revealed they were held in UN facilities during their captivity. Act like you're surprised. This is one very anti-Semitic place. And then we see this. This comes out, and this is more of the news that we've been hearing for a long time. But of course, UN watchdogs warns Iran is pressing the gas pedal on uranium enrichment. How many people here have been hearing for the last 20 years that Iran is a few months away from a nuclear bomb? We've been hearing that for over 2 decades. Either they have it or they don't. And they haven't used it, so I think they don't. Now, probably Israel behind the scenes has been keeping them pushed back. Every time they get an advancement, there's an explosion, an earthquake somewhere, probably setting them back another 2 years. But as far as the UN people have seen, they're only 6 months. We heard a week. We heard days not too long ago. We've been hearing this Iranian bomb, but yet we've never seen it. So they might have it, they might not, but, we'll see what happens. But, of course, Trump comes out and says he hopes to avoid strikes on nuclear Iran sites. So he's hoping that the peace will hold up, but you have to remember, Trump in his first term said he would never let the enemy know what he's going to do. Wouldn't surprise me in the next week if all of a sudden a bunch of sites blow up in Iran, and it's going to take a moment to figure out who did it, and Trump's going to come out and say we destroyed their nuclear infrastructure. He's not going to let them know that he's planning. So keep your eye on that. Anything is possible, but finally, part of the good out of the bad and ugly is one of the things that we've been keeping our eye on is the Abraham Accords. Before October 7th, Saudi Arabia was pushing with Benjamin Netanyahu in secret meetings to give up, some land for peace and stuff like that. And then October 7th happened. But that's back up in the air now with Trump now being president. So this is a good news story. It says Israel not committing to Palestinian state in exchange for Saudi deal, says Netanyahu confident. So we need to keep our eye on that. It says the Israeli government has made no commitments to recognize a Palestinian state in exchange for a normalization deal with Saudi Arabia. A senior Israeli minister and confidant of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told the Knesset on Wednesday. Opposition MK Oded Forer asked Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer, a former ambassador to the United States who has not been elected to the Knesset but is a member of Netanyahu's inner circle of advisors, whether the government had promised to back the establishment of a Palestinian state as part of a deal expanding President Trump's Abraham Accords to include Saudi Arabia. And of course, that is no. And so, but the good news is that there are people that are, hopefully today we'll have Hegseth as our Department of Defense. And we know he's a Zionist who doesn't believe in a two-state solution. But here is just the other day, Huckabee talking about it. And so let's listen into that.
Do you believe that President Trump believes, and you do believe, that a two-state solution is the future?
No, I think we have to recognize there was a Palestinian state. It was called Gaza. Look how that turned out. You can't have a Palestinian state on top of the Israeli state if the Palestinians continue to believe that Israel shouldn't exist. Because the Palestinians don't believe in a two-state solution. They believe in a one-state solution, and their solution, and Israel disappears. That's no solution whatsoever. Israel has a right to its autonomous, indigenous homeland that they've had for 3,500 years since the days of Abraham.
So he doesn't believe in a two-state solution is on the table. Trump said earlier, as we heard, it's their war. Let them fight it the way they feel fit. Hopefully that's how we will support Israel. Let them. And then there are people saying that Trump's going to recognize Judea and Samaria as part of Israel. And that will bring huge blessings to our country. So we'll see. But what do we see? We're going to continue to see this acceleration to the things, the prophetic narrative that we see, because this kind of explains it all when it comes to the security of the Middle East and the future wars that we read about in prophecy is this. So we have, that's Putin, everybody knows, that's the president of Iran, and they made a security deal together, which will be strengthened throughout time, because we know that between them and Turkey, they will invade Israel eventually. So we see the prophetic narrative coming very quickly, and we saw a lot of things, this acceleration over the last week that lead us to this. It says in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verses 1 through 3, but concerning the times and the seasons, we've been looking at the times and the seasons. Brethren, we have no need that we should write to you. For you yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord, the 7-year tribulation period, so comes as a thief in the night. For when they say peace and safety, which we've heard a lot this week, then sudden destruction comes upon them as labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape. So what are some things that we can look at? If this acceleration keeps up in the near future, what's one of the things? Well, we could see Isaiah 17:1. The burden against Damascus. Behold, Damascus will cease from being a city. It will be a ruinous heap. That has not happened yet. That's a possible future prophecy that we could see very quickly in this acceleration. What about Iran? We're talking about the nuclear launchers. Well, there's a prophecy about that in Jeremiah 49:35. Thus says the Lord, behold, I will break the bow of Elam, the foremost of their might. The bow is the launcher for the missiles. Their whole nuclear ambitions could be destroyed with one blow very soon. We talked about that. So we see this acceleration happening. So we know that we are living in the last days. We know the return of the Lord is at hand, and we need to make sure that we're paying attention to these things. We need to be the most sober-minded watchmen and watchwomen that are on the planet. We should know these things so well that when they come up in a subject, when they come up as a topic of conversation, that we understand and know what's happening, and we're willing and quick to give a quick answer from the Word of God that Jesus is coming again soon. The rapture of church is at hand, that you and I need to be ready for our soon evacuation because things have accelerated. They haven't slowed down. Don't think for a minute that we have this reprieve, Christians that want to sit down and think they have a reprieve need to understand that evil will continue to wax worse and worse. The technocrats will continue their power grab for rule. The Antichrist system will continue to be put in place. All of these things will happen. Israel will continue to be a cup of trembling. All of these things are going to accelerate. They're not going to slow down. So when you and I see these things, we need to look up and know that our redemption draws near. And we need to make sure that if we're watching this and we do not have a relationship with Jesus Christ, that we stop everything. Stop the news, stop the noise, and stop and make sure that we've placed our faith and trust in the finished work of Jesus Christ on the cross, who died for your sins and rose again from the dead. Because you need to be saved. You need to receive the gift of salvation today, because things are accelerating so fast. Before I even hit play on this YouTube video, that we could very well be caught up together to meet the Lord in the air. And so please make sure that you're right before the Lord while there's still time. And we thank you for watching this. For the rest of us, Lord, be those watchmen, be those watchwomen, telling people when these things come up in conversations, you have the answer from the Word of God of what's going to happen and why it's going to happen. And that we can prepare and win people to the Lord through the news cycle that goes on today. Why we are where we are at. So thank you and God bless. Have a good week, and we'll see you next time. Maranatha. If you have been blessed by this podcast, please subscribe and share to help get the word out in these last days. If you'd like more information or to contact us, please go to calvarysolidground.com. God bless you, and see you next time on Apologetics and Prophecy.